Joining me now is the Prime Minister of Ukraine, Denis Shmyhal. Prime Minister, thank you so much for joining us as the world watches your situation. It's been 3 months since the Russian invasion of your country. They are now pouring resources into the east. There is real concern that Russia will take over all of Luhansk and put it under their control. Can you give us the latest situation on the ground there, sir?
Oh, dear Evan, dear Canadian friends. So now we really have a very hard war in Ukraine, full-scale aggression, Russian aggression on the Ukrainian territory. We liberate some of our regions, Kyiv region, Sumy, Chernihiv, Kharkiv region, but now enemy is concentrated on Donbas region, in Luhansk and Donetsk regions. And for some weeks, very hard and tough battles are continuing on these territories with high quantity of casualties from both sides and in between soldiers, in techniques. So we have strong support from our partners for ammunition supply, and this led us to stop Russians on these positions where they are and some weeks ago. So these fights are very bloody, very tough, but not successful for Russians.
Meantime, Russia, let's go down to the east towards the Black Sea. They're cutting off food exports. Obviously, the Ukraine and the world needs grain and barley and other key exports from Ukraine. Russia has now said they will open shipping lanes for exporting of those critical products in exchange for the West dropping sanctions. Should the West drop sanctions to get that food out or not?
While the war in Ukraine is continuing, it's impossible to stop the sanctions because sanctions stop fulfilling of Russian budget from which they are financing terrorism and war atrocities here in Ukraine, because they kill civilians, and they so-named military operation is not against military infrastructure or against our army. It's against our nation, because they kill dozens of times more civilians than military people. So the next one step which they have done, it's blocking of our seaports. This is first in world history when one country is blocking seaports of other country, and they say that they are preparing to open and let us export our grain for African, Asian countries, but they didn't do this. And till that time, they destroyed 3 ships which try to bring this harvest through the Black Sea. So another one issue is if we will open our seaports, so they just will use this for attacking our cities, and especially Odessa. Because of this, we ask our partners and United Nations to create blue corridors in the Black Sea to find alliance which will bring security issues to Black Sea for our export possibilities, because we need to export more than 21 million tons of our this year harvest. But in 1.5 or 2 months, we will have new one harvest of this summer, and we will again need to have this blue corridor for our export. But in fact, Russians mines the coast of Black Sea near of the Odessa in other ports, seaports, and this is a big problem because they create food crisis and product crisis all around the world, especially in Africa and Asia countries. And they communicate to these countries that the sanction policy of civilized world is the reason why they will have a famine. But in fact, is not so. In fact, their blocking of our seaports and their war in Ukraine is a real reason why in some countries will be strong food crisis this year and maybe next year's too.
Prime Minister, I want to talk to you about, is there a shifting view in the West about support? At the Davos World Economic Forum, where President Zelensky spoke, the former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger suggested Ukraine should just cede territory to make peace with Russia to avoid a third world war. You have also seen editorials in the New York Times wondering how far is America willing to go. What is your response to Kissinger and others' view who say the way to end this is to basically shift let Russia take over Donbass, Luhansk, Donetsk, let them have the East, essentially ceding your territory, and that might appease the Putin forces? What is your view on that?
I would say that Russians are fighting not for the territories. They are creating genocide of Ukrainian nation. They create war crimes against humanity here in Ukraine. So all the world have seen photos and videos from Bucha, Irpin, Hostomel, from Mariupol, where Russians kill thousands and dozens of thousands civilians in a very terrible way. It was war atrocities, war crimes. And as I told, it's impossible for our nation to trade with Russia and to say, to take some of territories, but don't touch us. They have another one reason. They are interested not in the territories. They're interested to kill Ukrainians. And maybe it's not excluded that next countries will be also invaded by Russia if the Ukraine will not resist their aggression, and if the democratic world will not support Ukraine, because now we are protecting not only our land, our families, our homes, we protect also democratic principles, and we protect democracy and European borders. So this is crucially important, and it's impossible for our nation, for now, for our society, to negotiate or trade with Russia about our territories or about something. We will fight, we will win, and our glory will be in this moment when last Russians will leave our territory and will be pushed out of our geographical borders.
Prime Minister, just before I let you go, this is a complicated, horrific situation. Your people have been putting up an enormously heroic fight every single day, and it's a bloody, bloody situation. Canadians are watching. If you could tell us what is the most urgent need for Ukraine in the fight against Russia right now? What does your country need most right now?
Right now, we need more heavy ammunition, heavy weapon, especially heavy armored vehicles. We need this so much, some hundreds of heavy armored vehicles of NATO standards. We need some of anti-ships rocket missiles, anti-aircraft rocket missiles. It's strongly needed to protect our sea, our sea coast, our sky, because they are bombing our cities all around Ukraine by rockets and by bombs from aircraft. So this is what we need urgently right now. But during this war, we need more ammunition for howitzers of NATO standard, howitzer of NATO standard, and we will protect our country and democracy and democratical principles.
Heavy armored vehicles, anti-aircraft, anti-ship, ammunition for those howitzers that the UK and the United States have sent, and Canada, by the way. Listen, Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal from Ukraine in Kyiv, I hope you and your family are okay. We're thinking about you. We appreciate you taking the time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All the best to you.